Here we go. We're about to get real personal today. Look at me, I'm okay. Probably more personal than I've ever been. Yikes. We're going to talk about why I basically have no parents. Yeah. Gosh, I feel like I'm like at a therapist's office. Okay, so the reason I don't really have parents is my dad passed away this week, would mark 18 years. And then my mom is still alive, but I don't have a relationship with her. And the last time I saw her was almost 8 years ago. She came out when Driggs was born that first week, and then haven't seen her since. So let's do a quick rewind, okay? So I am the third daughter who is 7 and 8 years younger than the previous two daughters. So I was pretty much told my whole entire life, like I was an oops. It's all good, it's fine. So I grew up very much a latchkey kid. I had free range to do whatever because my parents were like tired by that time, okay? We moved to the States from Korea when I was 9. You know, more or less throughout my childhood, my sisters raised me. I was just telling my husband last night, I don't remember a time where my parents ever took me to the bathroom at a restaurant. It was like always my sisters. They bathed me, they brushed my hair, they dressed me. We moved to the US when I was 9 because my dad was setting up a lab for Hyundai Motors in Ann Arbor, Michigan. And we were tugging along, assimilating as best as we could. My sisters, you know, they went through University of Michigan, both moved to New York shortly after. And then I was 15 years old when the Asian markets crashed, and Hyundai basically said to my dad, like, you need to come back because we don't have a job for you in the States anymore. Like, all of Asia's financial markets are in total meltdown mode. And sadly, a lot of my parents' savings were in a Korean bank, and so they lost, you know, a bulk of their savings. And so my dad and mom moved back. They left me here on my own. So near when they were getting ready to leave, I remember like something was not right. Like my mom was buying so many things, like a bunch of washer and dryers, like electronics. And they were all just in our garage in boxes, like they weren't being used or unpacked. And then sure enough, one morning I wake up, again, I'm 15 years old, and there are 10 suitcases lining our driveway. And like so typical Asian fashion, there is no talk of what's happening. It's just very brief. You know, we're moving back to Korea. There is a book of signed checks in our bedroom. Each month you're gonna write to, you know, the heating bill, the water, like there's 4 checks that need to go out each month, and you can use a small bit of it for groceries. So they move. I do the best as I can. I have so many absent days. My high school guidance counselor, who I still have a relationship with, Dr. Byral, caught on right away that there was something going on. Why is this student missing so many days of school? Because why did I need to go to school? I could just excuse myself. I call and I say, hi, I'm the guardian for Julie Chang. She won't be coming to school today. He knew what was happening, and he chose to not report my parents because he said, in hindsight, when we're talking like in recent years, he's like, yeah, I mean, obviously it's illegal, but at the same time, that you were like a cat. Meow. You would always land on your feet. And we didn't know what awaited you if you went back to Korea. Long story short, I did fine in high school as best as I could. I got myself into the University of Michigan, so I couldn't have done that bad. And I never lived with my parents again, right? So 15 was when I last lived with them. Cut to almost 10 years later, I'm 24 years old. And my parents had moved back to the States, and they sadly had to, you know, resort to opening a dry cleaners because my dad, even though he was a chemical engineer for 30 some years, to get employed at that late stage in your life, you know, speaking somewhat limited English, your opportunities are not that great. They're running a dry cleaners, and my dad gets into a horrific car accident December 11th. And right about now, if you're like, this woman must suffer some serious abandonment issues, ding, 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 you're correctamundo. I got intensive therapy for about 4 or 5 years to deal with abandonment issues. Soon after my dad died, we always knew my mom was special. Like, just her peaks and valleys seem way more extreme than most people we knew. In hindsight, and after lots of therapy, I can say that the reason my dad signed off on her going back to Korea with him when I was 15 years old is because I think he knew she was mentally ill and that I would be better off on my own than him leaving me with her unpredictable ways and volatile ways. So what kind of mental illness does my mom deal with? She's never been formally diagnosed because she refuses. It's very taboo. And also she says, I would rather use the money for retail therapy. On that note, so she is a hoarder, like the type of hoarding that you can be like on a TV show for. She lives under mounds of things. She is bipolar. She is narcissistic to the point where it's concerning. For example, I called her to tell her that I have a brain tumor, and her first reaction was, why would you do this to me? I already have so much on my plate. Why would you do this to me? I don't hold any anger because I think she's ill. Something beautiful happens when you become a mother or a parent. And the author Glennon Doyle describes this so beautifully in her book Untamed. Once you become a parent, she describes it like you're on an island, and anyone that wants to come on the island, you make sure won't jeopardize the safety of your children. Your mama bear mode goes like extreme, right? So I flew my mom out here when Drix was born. That first week, she was still so insane, just volatile, cursing out everyone, just accusing people of everything. The verbal abuse was just... So I realized at that point, this woman is not safe for my family to be around. And so I haven't seen her since. So why am I sharing all of this now? It's because this week marks 18 years since my dad passed away. And I just want to recognize how hard it must have been for him to have that hard choice of leaving a 15-year-old girl by herself in a house all by herself, or to leave her with a woman that was going to be abusive and not mentally well. And I just want to take a moment to say, Dad, that was a really hard choice that you had to make. And I think you made the best choice, because look at me, I'm okay. Whoa, that came out of nowhere. Okay, so sorry. I'm not sorry, actually. Letting out your emotions is good. It's you processing stuff. I'm also sharing this because I know that this time of year is very, very strong-handed in delivering the Norman Rockwell perfect picture of what a family and what a holiday should and feel like. And that's not true. I want to share some tools that I learned in therapy. If you yourself deal with abandonment issues, write a letter. Like I wrote a letter to my mom that I never sent. Write a letter to your younger self. And see what kind of healing comes from it. It's kind of amazing. It's very cathartic. Like this conversation for me that we've had is very cathartic. And if you are just simply lonely this season, do me a favor. Envision what you want the holidays for next year to look like. And take steps, even the smallest ones, that are going to get you that kind of relationship or companionship or inclusion in your life. Okay, love you guys.